All right, hi everyone, welcome back. It's Dr. J. Bowen from New Jersey Regenerative Institute. I hope you've been following us on our socials, and you've probably heard that we partnered with MD Hyperbarics, and we'll be opening up our hyperbaric tank for treatment in February of 2025. So you may have seen my prior video that just sort of does a quick overview on hyperbarics and fairly general. But today I get the privilege to sit down with the CEO of MD Hyperbarics, Neal, and he can give you some more information on the company, how we partnered, and sort of how this is technology started, and how it can help you release your intrinsic ability to heal yourself. Something here that we're trying to do a lot at New Jersey Regenerative Institute. And if you don't know, you can look at some of our other videos on the channel. So Chris, it's very great to have you with us, and thanks for coming on and talking a little bit about what's going on. So if you could do a little introduction of yourself and background and sort of how you got to where you're at.
Awesome. Thanks, Dr. Bowen, and appreciate you having me. I'm Neal, the CEO of MD Hyperbaric. So a little bit about how I came to be the CEO of MD Hyperbaric and got involved in hyperbarics. My journey started really as from a passion for creating innovative wellness solutions that empower people to unlock their potential for healing and optimization. I've always found that the intersection between cutting-edge technology and holistic health is really quite an emerging technology, an emerging space that really has a lot of potential in the health and wellness field. And so I helped scale the largest retail wellness concept in the US, Restore Hyper Wellness, to over 250 locations. And there we focused on overall wellness and also an active participation in one's health. And that's really where I saw that there's a lot of opportunity to continue to double down on that. So I saw firsthand the transformative power of hyperbaric oxygen therapy, and I knew it was an area that I really wanted to dedicate myself. So in theory, really what I focused on was moving up the patient care continuum to develop MD Hyperbaric as a way to not only advance this therapy, but also make it more accessible to more people.
Yeah, that's great. What you said, I think, is what we try to do, and that's empower patients. So they don't really need physicians, right? We need to do better health education from the high school level on up, so that people know to eat right, to exercise, to de-stress, have clean air, have clean food, clean water, and just reduce their overall health expenditures by, taking care of themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So tell us a little bit how you got involved with Dr. O'Malley and where the sort of idea, I mean, you touched on MD Hyperbarics, but like how the actual company concept and how you're implementing it now came to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I partner with Dr. Martin O'Malley, who's the founder of MD Hyperbaric. And Dr. Martin O'Malley is a renowned orthopedic surgeon based in New York City. And he has extensive experience in treating elite professional athletes in the NBA, the NFL, the NHL, and beyond. And what Dr. O'Malley experienced firsthand was how hyperbaric oxygen therapy was helping accelerate and improve outcomes for his athletes. And then he took the initiative to create access for his individual patients. He realized that while HBOT has been traditionally used for specific medical indications, it also has incredible potential for regenerative health, sports recovery, chronic conditions, acute injuries, and more. And his vision, coupled with his rigorous standards of personalized and efficacious care, really has laid the foundation for MD Hyperbaric. And it's frankly continued to guide us today as we expand our impact.
Hey, so you talked a little bit about expansion. Can you give us a little idea of the locations you have and the sort of plans on expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. So currently we operate 3 facilities located in Stamford, Connecticut, in the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And these centers really are our core group that are focused on bringing world-class hyperbaric therapy to those communities where people can benefit the most, primarily also in areas where there's no access to hyperbaric outside of a hospital setting. And as for the future, really what we're focused on is exciting plans to grow. We have over a dozen locations under development across the nation right now. And again, with specific emphasis on creating education and access to hyperbaric, primarily in communities that lack treatment options. So 2025 is going to be a huge year for us in terms of growth.
Yeah, and that's what I sort of see is that, people talk about hyperbarics for the last decade from my sort of sphere, but nobody really actually accessed it and had care unless you're going to get it from a hospital-based system. And they were always really busy running through all these unfortunate obese patients who have diabetes, who have peripheral neuropathies, who have large wounds, who have lots of medical care delivered, and they really don't have any spots for potentially, advancing other treatments and getting more indications.
That's right. And I'm going to talk in a little bit about how laborious that process has become and how it actually, in a lot of ways, is constricting access to care to those who need it, especially creating delays in access to care for those who, really need it in a critical point in their care continuum, their care journey.
Yeah, we'll get a little further on. We'll talk a little bit about how those things are, being impacted by regulatory agencies and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely.
But just to let everybody know, we're opening, as I said earlier, in February of 2025, and New Jersey Regenerative Institute is going to focus really on, sort of as Chris said for Dr. O'Malley with his surgical patients, we're going to focus on how can this accelerate or improve our regenerative medicine or orthobiology treatments that we're already, delivering. And we use data biologics to track those. So now we institute a new additive part of that continuum or that protocol. And we can then compare it to what we did before, and we'll have actually data to say how much better patients are responding to this. Or patients that we may not have been able to get better or it took a lot longer, hopefully they recover a lot faster. So more to come on that as we collect that data. Other thing that is really the main reason I wanted to push forward and get Hyperbaric in our office is a few years back, we started out 20 years ago and took care of lots of high school athletes and lots of high schools, probably over 12,000, physicals a year. And so a few years back, we pretty much whittled down to one school, and it was a rash of concussions that happened in these high school kids. And I was walking around the football field and I'd see them from various different, sporting injuries, and they had sunglasses on and they had ringing in their ears and they couldn't think and they couldn't go to school. They couldn't take a test. They just weren't progressing and no one was treating them. They're just going, do you have a headache? Do you have a headache? Do you have a headache? And if they didn't, all of a sudden they got one. So it was annoying to see this population just, not being served. And concussions is a big problem in my mind in general. I almost got involved in doing a lot more, treatments for it, but I veered off into orthopedic related treatments. So now I'm sort of pulling back to what I did before because I think there's a great need. There's definitely some nuggets out there in kernels that Chris also opened my eyes to more of. And we're going to try to follow that concussion or post-concussive syndrome population, maybe 15 to 30 years old, and see what kind of impact we can make because it's such a saddening thing to see these people just on the sideline and not participating in life.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of things, that people have this perception about hyperbaric really is just for wound care. And that is one of the FDA approved indications for wound care. But a lot of people miss the fact that hyperbaric, through its mechanisms, will heal all different types of wounds, including wounds in your brain, like a concussion or a TBI or other types of injuries to the brain. And that's why we're so excited about the technology and all the research that's coming out about concussions and the efficacy with treatment options through hyperbaric for concussions.
And what else do you see that other people are having interest in that they really want to focus on that's not an approved indication?
Yeah, there's a number of really, again, we base all of our protocols on published research, and it needs to be rigorously put together studies. It's not just, basic trials. So we really follow the research and we won't treat indications unless there's solid research behind it. But a lot of the emerging, primarily off-label conditions that we see, a lot of patients, especially creating demand for, there's a lot of PTSD research that's happening right now, especially with veterans and first responders, and a lot of great organizations that are helping to support first responders and getting access to hyperbaric. We're also seeing a good rise in research on autoimmune conditions, inflammatory bowel conditions, and Lyme's disease also has been well studied with hyperbaric. But again, like you mentioned, there's a lot of the athletes, especially professional athletes, are taking advantage of hyperbaric for after rigorous workouts or injuries or tears or even post-orthopedic surgery. They're using it to heal quicker, improve their healing condition, and get back to the field faster.
Yeah, so thanks for that sort of introduction. And, hopefully you guys liked that discussion we had. So if you did, give it a thumbs up. That way we know that you guys like the content. We'll keep looking for those things, interesting people to interview and give you guys an idea about our plans in the future. And you know what to do. Subscribe, hit that bell notification, talk to other people. And if you hit that bell, then you won't miss part 2 of Chris and I speaking about some more details about Hyperbaric. So we'll see that next week. They'll be posted, and we'll go from there.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jeff.